Suffix part
Fine.
is itis, and
Yes.
I think it's pneumo. I think it's pneumo for lungs. Pneumo,
Okay.
pneumo,
Okay. Now, fine.
something.
What you have
Pneumo,
said is correct.
pneumo.
Pneumo, that would be the prefix part. This would go as the
Yes, sir.
prefix. And for the suffix part, it will be itis. To indicate a prefix, I need to put a dash just after the prefix, and to indicate a suffix, I again need to put a dash before the suffix. Fine. So this is the suffix part. Now the question lies, how would these two part of the term join to form the entire term? Would it be pneumoitis or would it be pneumatitis? What will be that? Any guesses? I'm not expecting an accurate answer, but I'm at least expecting
Sir,
a
I think it will be. Uh, I think it will be pneumoitis.
pneumonitis. Okay. So if you're telling it as pneumonitis, the spelling should go something like this: pneumonitis. Right. Now, as the old rule goes, that if I will have to join a prefix with a suffix in which the ending alphabet of the prefix is a vowel, see I am marking that ending alphabet in the red color, and the starting alphabet of the suffix is also a vowel, right? So O and I are vowels. These are all vowels, right? In that
Yes, sir.
case, the rule says that the priority will be given to the vowel of the suffix. So here this will be given the priority, and so accordingly this would be removed. If I try make it that way even, so the term is something getting like this: new mitis, right? So removal of the O, keeping the I of the itis, I'm now getting to this particular term, right? The one that I've written at the bottom, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Logically, this should be the correct one. If we follow the logic, then this should be the correct one. But in reality, this is an exception that we don't use this term. Rather, we introduce another alphabet that might sound quite strange. I'm giving you the correct term now. That will be pneumo, pneumo. Now this is the strange part. So I would mark this strange part again with a red overhead line. Now with the red I have written the suffix as well. So this is how the term is formed as pneumonitis. Got it? Now fewer exceptions that you need to know separately. This "in" has been introduced just to make a kind of easy things for the pronunciation part. You get the concept?
No, sir. Can you just
Is
repeat
there
it
any
once
doubt?
more?
What I is telling is, suppose I give you another example. That example is of gastritis. Okay, so this example would probably help you understand better the formation of the term pneumonitis. Now, ITIS, so I need to remove it, TRITIS, that is the gastritis. How is this term formed? One is gastro, another is itis. Uh, Gastro is the prefix and itis is the suffix, right? So, in the formation of the term, this particular alphabet is removed. See, you do not find any O out here. Do you find an O? Do you find any O in the term gastritis?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, no. But in the prefix, when you're writing the prefix, there would be an O. But the rule says what? The rule says that during the formation of the term, it is the vowel of the suffix that takes the priority. That is even more important. So I am preserving the vowel of the suffix. So itis only is preserved. But while preserving the vowel of the suffix, I am removing the ending vowel of the prefix. So ending vowel of the prefix was O. and I have removed that in the term. Right. So the vowel of the suffix is, adjacently following the consonant of the prefix. The last consonant of the prefix was R, right? So this R was the last consonant of the prefix. This R. Right? So after that consonant R, what next follows is the vowel of the suffix. That is how the term is formed. Understood? The rule first. Did you understand the rule first? Hello.
Yes, sir. It's
Yes, sir.
clear, kind of.
Fine. Fine. But what I'm saying is, so okay, first, if that is still not clear, let me summarize the rule then. The rule says, rule number one will be that the last vowel of the prefix is removed, or rather replaced, by the first vowel of the suffix. When would this rule apply? When there is vowel both at end of prefix as well as beginning of suffix. Now read this that I have written. You can even write this in your exercise book. Okay, and find out how this rule is getting applied in the term gastritis. Okay, so uh, first find that out. Then we will come to the extension, that is pneumonitis. First, master this rule first. By the time I will find out how many people have so far joined. 10 people have joined out of this. So many number of people. I have made Zupisha, Shayan, and Ishika the admin of this group. Accordingly, you add the other people of your, the other friends of yours in this group. Okay, did you write? Did you complete writing the rule?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, and did you now find out that how is rule getting applied in the formation of the term gastritis? See that there is a vowel at the end, that is O. Here is a vowel, that is I, that is present at the beginning of the suffix. So as I said, uh, this vowel would replace the other vowel. So the last vowel of the prefix is removed or replaced. So this is the prefix, gastri is the prefix. And the last vowel of this prefix is O, which is removed, or replaced. Okay, which is removed or replaced by what? By the first vowel of the suffix. First vowel of the suffix. So if this by suffix, this is the first vowel of the suffix, right? This one. This I is the first vowel of the suffix. So this first vowel is going to remove, or it will replace the last vowel of the prefix. That is it. So in the term you can easily follow this out, that since the O is now removed, the O is not making any appearance in the term. So in the gastritis there is no O anymore, right? So in the place of the O, what is present there is this I. I is the starting vowel of the suffix. Is the concept now clear? The rule.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What I am now telling of an exception is this term. I said that inflammation of the lung is termed as pneumonitis, right? But if we follow this particular rule, and if we join the prefix and suffix following the rule, then the term should be this one, pneumonitis. Because the prefix was pneumo, of the pneumo this O was the, the last vowel, or the ending vowel of the prefix pneumo. And this I was the starting vowel of the suffix, that is itis, right? So ideally, by the rule, this I should have replaced this I. This I should have replaced this O. So if the I replaces the O, this is the replacement mechanism that I've shown out here. So the O needs to be removed, and instead of that O, there should be itis. But in practice, we do not use this term. This term is thus an incorrect term. In practice, what we use, the term that we use is pneumonitis. So we are preserving the O, and in order to preserve the O, as well as to preserve the alphabet I, that is the starting vowel alphabet of the suffix, I am introducing a third alphabet out here, that is N. Got it? This is the exception.
Okay, sir.
I mean, there
So
are
this
few
is not
exceptions. Not clear? Is this not clear?
Oh, no, sir. I'm just saying that this is not used in every situation, right? This is just an
No,
exception.
this is an exception. This is an exception. So, being an exception, this is not used in every situation. In the majority of the situation, what will be used is this particular rule. This one, this rule that I have given. This rule and the example of this rule is out. So, this will be used in
Okay, sir.
the majority of the situations. But these are some exceptional situations wherein you are preserving the ending vowel as well as you are preserving the starting vowel. And in doing so, you are introducing another alphabet in between the ending vowel of the prefix and the starting vowel of the suffix.
Okay,
Is
sir.
the concept clear now?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Okay,
sir.
now to refer to, let me introduce another exceptional term. I first write the term, okay? I'm writing it in caps so that you understand every alphabet. That is. What have I written? Who can pronounce this out?
Phenophthalmitis.
Okay, this would be panophthalmitis. The correct pronunciation will be panophthalmitis. Now, can anybody guess the meaning of this term, panophthalmitis?
Sir, itis is inflammation, and
Correct.
I think it's something related to eye, inflammation of the
Correct.
eye, or
Correct. But I have used another part to this term. And I am particularly referring to this underlined part, to this pan. Panophthalmitis. So if I break it this way, one part that I will get is panophthalmo. So this becomes the suffix inflammation that you already know, and this becomes what I am writing. I will look on it. Whole of the eye. the important word here is whole. Right. So what I'm trying to say here is that the eye do have multiple other parts. The eye do have a retina, it do have a choroid, it do have a cornea, it do have an optic nerve. There are multiple parts. I will come to individual parts later on. But whether it is a single part of the eye that is inflaming or the whole of the eye that is inflaming, in order to differentiate that, I have used this part, the whole. And the whole, this meaning is there by this word called pan. Understood? The utility of putting this word pan here. As for example, pan India. I think you have heard this word before. Pan India. That means the whole of the India. Similarly, when I'm using the word panophthalmitis, that means the whole of the eye. Did you understand this? Did you understand? I'm writing the prefix for that
Yes,
now.
sir.
And OPH,
Yes, sir.
O. Now observe again that the rule that I have stated here on the top, it is again being applied out here. And it is equally applicable. Observe that the prefix that I have written, that prefix end with this one, this O. Right? So this O represents the ending vowel of the prefix panophthalmic. But when you look into the term, see there is no O present. After the M, there should be the position of this O, because if you look into the prefix, the O was present after M. Have a look again. This is the M, and just after M there is the O. But if you look into the term back, after the M, you do not find any O. Right? So this O gets replaced. Which O? This particular O, that is the vowel at the end of the prefix, get replaced by what? By this I. This I here is the starting vowel of the suffix, that is itis. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There was a noise in this meeting. I don't know. Okay, there is another person by the name Subham Das. Is he anybody of your friend? Subham Das?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's our friend.
Okay. I am thus admitting Shubham Das as guest. Well, CR do take the responsibility that you inform every day. I mean, not on every day, on the Thursdays, that there is a class, and you accordingly inform that in the group that they should be joining on time. Now the time is around 3 p.m. right, and I started the class at 2:30 around. Anyways, let's now move on. I mean, I will be spending few more time in this basic discussions before I actually intend to take up a disease today, because till the last offline class that I had with you, you people were telling that the diseases are not yet started. Okay, so you need a basic introduction of the diseases. There are around 8 to 9 disorders covering the different systems of the body. In fact, all the systems are not in your syllabus. Only 3 systems are there in the syllabus. One is the respiratory disorders, then the musculoskeletal disorders, and the urinary disorders. Right? So I'll have to discuss all those disorders, and I'll have to do that within, this current month. So time is very less. So there is no opportunity actually to lose any kind of time. You cannot afford to lose any time. Anyways, going back to my board again. So panophthalmitis was the term. Now say, as I was telling that there are multiple other parts to this eye. Okay, and accordingly, based on the parts, the prefix would also obviously differ. So let me give you, as for example, if I tell you a term called keratitis, it is involved with eye. Keratitis. Okay, so what could be the meaning of this term keratitis? You can tell me the meaning of this term keratitis? Okay, you might be looking it directly into the Google. Can you hear me all? Hello.
Yes, sir, you're
Yes,
audible.
sir.
Okay, so what would be the breakdown of this term keratitis into prefix and suffixes? Would I say it for you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So this is the prefix kerato. And I am not telling anything about the suffix, you know it, keratitis. Now, what is this? What does this mean? Initially, people might be into this kind of thought that kerato indicates keratin. I think you have heard that there is a protein called keratin that is present in our hairs. But this particular word kerato has nothing to do with any protein, but this prefix refers to cornea. Did you understand? You know what is cornea, by the way? Does anybody know what cornea is?
Yes, sir. No idea.
So if you're having the idea, just tell me, can you see cornea from outside? Can you see the cornea from outside? Can we?
Sir, we don't know about Cornea. What is it?
Okay, that is what you said. So let me give you a brief of the different parts of the eye. And with that brief,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now I remember. Sorry, sir.
remember. Okay, so if you do remember that,
Yes, sir. I think we can see the cornea part.
we can see the cornea, right? That's true. But you know, in the context of the eye, I can use another term that is uveitis. Uveitis. TIS. Uveitis. Now, what would be the meaning of this particular term? Uveitis. First, let us have a look into the breakdown of this term into prefix and suffix. How can we break this term? How can this term be broken? Have a guess. What would be the suffix, by the way? You should tell the suffix at least.
The suffix is itis, I think.
Correct. What about the prefix now? Obviously, it would start with U, then there will be a V, then there is E, but it is not E, but it's A, uvea. But whatever be the vowel at the end of the prefix, that is see again getting replaced by this I of the itis. So here this A is not present anymore. Notice it. This particular A is not present out here. This A that is present at the end of the prefix uvea This is a prefix, by the way. I should be giving a dash after the writing the prefix. So this particular prefix is absent out here. Noticed it, everybody?
Yes, sir. But what does it mean?
Okay. Now, what does it mean? That is the next important question. It means a layer of the eyeball. A layer of the eyeball. Now, you might have a question that where comes the concept of layer inside an eyeball? So, in order to explain that, I would need to take the help of a diagram. And exactly, I'm going to bring that diagram right on to your screen. Just hold on. You see your diagram? That even I can zoom so that you can see it better. This is the entire wall of the eye from which half of the portion is removed. So what you see the eye as is this side, right? This one. Now it consists of a ball. The entire ball is located within a hollow of the skull. I think you have seen a skull.
Yes, sir.
So the skull do have I will show you another image that will give you the idea of how the eyes are present inside the skull. So this is the skull, right? And in this skull there are two hollow areas. The eyes are present just like a balls inside this hollow of the skull. Understood? So what we are seeing in this diagram is that the bony portions of the skull are all covered up by the skin. So that's why a big part of this ball is now hidden behind the skin of the lids and all other structures. Understood? How the eyeball is present inside the skull. Have a look on this again. Is the concept clear now? Hello, I need a response from you all. Now,
Yes.
if I section this eyeball, suppose with this black color, I'm trying to show you the lines of this section. So if I section a ball, so this part would be removed. So this is the removed part of the eyeball. So this part would be thus retained. Which part? This part would be the retained part. Got it? So the diagram at the bottom is basically showing you the retained part. This one is showing you the retained part. That means the structures present inside the eyeball. Did you now get first the orientation of the diagram? That what this diagram is telling you all about. Do I need to repeat? Even if I do need to repeat, do tell me.
Yes, sir. You can repeat it once more.
I first gave you the idea of how this individual ball is present. The eyeballs are present in this way, right? So after that, I was trying to explain that if I, with the help of knife, knife is a common word that we use, but here we use something called scalpel. So if I make a section across this eyeball, so this line would be the line of section. So one half would thus be removed. So this half, let us remove this half, removed half. And the other half would thus be retained. Is this part understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, since this is a ball, as for example, I'm drawing a ball. If I make a section of this ball, so the part that is retained is something like this. And if I view from this side, then I can now see the inner hollow part of the ball, can't I?
Yes, sir.
The diagram that I have given on the bottom is basically a view of that inner half. Other half has been removed, and the half that is still present inside, I am seeing that other half. Is that now clear? How the diagram is presented?
Yes.
I am getting responses from only 1 or 2 students, but what about the rest of the students? There are around 8 students in the class. Is this part clear? Did you get the orientation of the eye? If it is not clear, I will temporarily unshare my board, and I would ask all of you to look into me at least. You can see me, right? My camera is on. I think you can see me. Can you?
Yes, sir.
Suppose say if this arm represents a ball, right? So if I am making a section like this, so I'll be removing one part, so the other part remains. Now, if I keep my eye like this and I try to see here, would I not be able to see the inside of the other part? This one I'm speaking of. Any difficulty? Actually, without a response, even I don't understand. Since you are not keeping your video on, ideally, even you should have kept your video on. But since you are not keeping your video on, I cannot read your faces. And since I cannot read faces, without a response, I cannot move ahead. That is what I am stuck in. Whatever problem there be, if you can share your problem with me, then I can try to find a solution of the problem. But if you cannot share the problem, then there is no way for me to try to solve your problem, right? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to sit idle or do you want me to respond? Do you want me to proceed further or do you want me to sit idle like this? I mean, this is just a waste of time.
Sir, proceed further.
Proceed further. Thank you. So
Yes,
you have
sir.
understood
You
the
can.
orientation at least, right? You have understood the orientation.
Yes, sir. We understand.
Okay, fine. Now you see here that in the process of making a section, can you see different layers of this entire ball? I think you have seen a canvas ball with which we play cricket, or even a football. What is there in the football? There are more than one layer. So there is inside a bladder. Inside the football, there is a bladder, and covering up that bladder is an outside layer, right? Is not that the
Yes,
orientation?
sir.
Similar kind of presentation is also there inside the eyeball. But instead of there being 2 layers in the eyeball, there are 3 layers. And notice that these 3 are the layers: the sclera, the choroid, and the retina. Sclera is this white layer that you can see from the outside. You can compare it to the outermost layer of the football. Okay, and the innermost layer is the retina that you can compare with the bladder of that football. Now, sandwiched in between the outermost layer and the innermost layer is this particular layer, this one, inside which you can see that there are multiple vessels to be seen. This is the layer called, this is a structure called choroid. But if we speak of a layer, then that layer would be termed as UVEA, that is uvea. That is what I was telling you at the very beginning. Understood now? What is uvea? Did you understand what uvea is?
So once more, can you repeat it?
Yeah,
I
sure.
just lost my network.
Okay. I was telling of a kind of a comparison with the cam-based ball that we play cricket with, or the football that we play again. In both these balls, you are having an inside layer and an outside layer. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, this eyeball, being a ball, do also have an inside layer and an outside layer. The inside layer has been partly sectioned. This yellow colored margin is representing the margins of the section. I am drawing the black line.
Sir, actually we can't see your drawing.
You can't see my
Sir, the
drawing.
board is not visible.
Visible anymore. Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. So for how long it was invisible?
Sir, when you proceed further along.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In this particular diagram, can you see the 3 different layers? This is the outermost layer. Which one? I'm drawing the cut sections of the outermost layer. See this layer? Did you notice, everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes,
putting
sir.
dots on this particular layer. This is the outermost layer, and it comes with this white color. So that's why from the front, this layer is visible, and the name of this white colored layer is sclera. See, it is already labeled out here as sclera. Notice, everybody, the layer called sclera?
Yes, sir.
So this layer called sclera can be compared to the outermost layer of your cambis ball or of the football. And the innermost layer of the football is the bladder. So for this eyeball, the innermost layer is represented by this yellow color. Now notice that I am drawing the margins of the cut sections of the innermost layer, that is the retina. And this particular yellow colored layer extends to a limit. This is the limit of extension of this yellow colored layer. I will erase a part of my annotation so that you can now see with this dot I am trying to show you this yellow colored layer. But can you now appreciate that there is an inner layer? That layer is known as the retina. That layer is not visible from the outside. You do not understand the location of the retina, how the retina is present inside the eyeball.
Yes, sir.
Now, just like a sandwich, you know, in the sandwich there are 2 loaves of bread and in between there is a stuff. So similarly, just like that sandwich in which the outer layer is formed by the sclera, and the innermost layer is formed by the retina, just like the sandwich. There again is a middle layer. See, this is the middle layer over which I have drawn with a black color lines that represents different blood vessels. So with the red color, I'm now drawing these blood vessels. I can even draw the margins of the cut section. So this is the margin of the cut section, and see how far it is extending. This is extending beyond the point where the retina ends. Did you notice this?
Yes, sir.
So this layer is known as uvea. So whatever I have shown in this red color, this layer is uvea. So this entire thing in the dots represents the uvea. Understood now what uvea is?
Yes, sir. Which is mentioned in the red part.
Which is mentioned in the red part. Uvea itself do have three other parts. One such part is the choroid, that is the back part. Back part means the part which is present beyond that point where retina ends. So this is the point where retina ends. So let me use a different color to show you the point where retina ends. So with this, say the light blue color, I have marked the point where retina is ending. This yellow color layer is ending. So behind that point where retina is ending, the entire part of the uvea is known as choroid. So the choroid is extending even to the backside of the eye. But before this point where the retina is ending, this part, that means with the red color again, let me indicate that there are two parts. See, there is one part till this level, and there is another part even below this level. This part is known as ciliary body, and the other part out here, this is known as, it's already leveled out here, this is iris. This iris is a structure, the front of which can be seen from the outside. I mean, this is the iris. If you look into your eyes, you will find multiple radiating lines, much like the spokes of our bicycle, of the wheel of our bicycle. There is appearance of this radiating lines, and these lines indicates the iris. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this iris, the ciliary body, and this choroid, all these three taken together is been marked with this red colored line. Have a notice? And this entire structure marked with this red colored line comprising of the choroid, the iris, and the ciliary body is termed as uvea. Clear now? What is uvea?
Yes, sir.
And inflammation of this layer is termed as uveitis. Is the concept now clear?
Yes, sir.
So it all started with this particular term that was known as the uveitis. Now, apart from this uvea, there are even other structures, and each of these structures do have their own medical prefixes. That is what I'm trying to say. I'm not here to teach you the anatomy of the eyes, but I am here to teach you the terms that are used to refer to each part of this eye. Now, in order to know these terms, you need to have at least a very basic idea of what the parts are. As for example, just now when I gave you this term called uveitis, you wasn't quite sure about what uvea is in the first place. But now after the explanation of what uvea is by showing this diagram, you now understand what would be the meaning of the uvea and theoretically what would be the meaning of the term uveitis. Correct. So similarly, the other terms, as for example, the lens. You know that there is a medical term even of the medical prefix even for this lens. Any idea? What is the prefix for this lens? Can anybody say that? What could be the prefix for this lens? No idea? Or at least if you are not having an idea, do even say that. If you are having the idea, then tell me your idea. What, Shine?
No, sir. No idea. I don't have actually. Oh, my mic was on. No
Well,
idea, sir.
Have you ever heard of the term called phaco? The ophthalmologist uses this term phaco. Phaco surgery, phaco emulsification. Have you ever termed this before? Phakic laser surgery. Ever heard this term before? Phaco? The exact.
Yes, I
Fico, I have
heard,
heard
but
it, I think,
don't know
twice.
the meaning.
Phaco. Phaco is the medical term for lens. Understood? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if I give you another very related term, as for example, I write the term first here. Sorry. What could be the meaning of this term?
The nerves of the eye, disease, something pathological disease of the nerves of the eye.
Nerves of the eye means what? In the
Sir, there
eye,
is optic neuropathy. So I
right?
just said that
So you have to be
optic
very
means eye.
specific, right? Optic means eye, and when I'm speaking of optic neuropathy, then it definitely refers to the optic nerve. Got it? I mean, if you are telling it
Yes.
about something like this that you said, nerves of the eye, that can mean any other nerves that is related to the eye. There is another nerve called oculomotor nerve that is related to the eye. There is another nerve called trochlear nerve that also is related to the eye. Another nerve called abducens nerve. So trochlear, oculomotor, abducens, all these are the nerves that is related to the eye. But when I'm speaking of this particular term, the optic neuropathy, this one, so I am being very specific as to which particular nerve is the pathy present. Pathy means what? Pathy is the suffix. So pathy is the suffix that means disease or disorder, right? And this part, optic neuro, so though I have written the word optic on the top, it ideally should have been written something like this on the side. So I've removed that. Optic neuro. This thus specifies what optic nerve. Where is the optic nerve present? This exactly is the location where the optic nerves are present. This is the optic nerve. Got it? It is present at the back side of the eye. Understood? Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Am I adding any
Yes,
new
sir.
knowledge to your already available knowledge? Or is it just a mere repetition of the early old knowledge, of that same old knowledge? Am I adding any new knowledge to you? Then this class is of any use.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, this
Adding
class is
new.
adding. Fine. Now, before leaving this part called eye, let me show you something called the cornea. I have already given the prefix before. This is prefixed as kerato. Kerato. Okay, K-E-R-A-T-O, kerato. And this is a transparent structure. If the structure is not very visible very clearly, Then I would with my red ink draw a line over this structure. So this entire thickness is the thickness of the cornea. And I do not know whether you are familiar with a concept called eye donation. Have you ever heard before that eyes can be donated?
Yeah, eye donation camp.
Right.
Like,
So we do not perform camp. We perform blood donation camp. But for eye donation, we do
yeah,
not
yeah.
perform a camp because blood can be donated. But if you are donating your eye, then you yourself will become blind. So eye can be donated only after the person dies. Kidney can be donated even when the person is still living and surviving. Because we are having two sets of kidney and one set of kidney is at least sufficient to carry out the normal functions. I mean the basal functions. If not the highly metabolic ones, then at least the basal functions could be performed by a single kidney. So a kidney can be donated in the living condition. But since for vision, both the eyes play an equally important role, so it's not possible to perform a camp and donate our eyes. But the eyes can still be donated, but the collection of the eye would be after the death. That means a kind of posthumous collection of the eyes. Right. Now, when we are speaking of donating the eye, it is not this entire ball that we donate. I mean, we can donate the entire ball. But for the patient who is supposed to receive the donated eye, for that particular patient, it is not the entire eye that is donated, that is received by the patient. Rather, it is only this cornea, this cornea, over which you see my green box blinking. This cornea is the only single structure of the eye that can be transplanted, that the recipient can receive. Understood? So when you are speaking of eye transplantation, it is more specifically the corneal transplantation. Got it? Did you understand? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That means what? Suppose if somebody's optic nerve is damaged, or somebody is suffering from uveitis, chronic uveitis, and that's how the person is getting blind. In those cases, the lost eyesight cannot be recovered by eye donation. But in only the case where the cornea is damaged, in that case, it can be replaced by a fresh cornea from a dead person. We can have corneal transplantation. Is the concept now made clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Is the concept now made clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And you might even have this question that why it is only the cornea, why not the whole of the eye? The answer to this question is that the cornea is a structure, though which is living, but avascular. What is the meaning of this word avascular? This again is a medical term, avascular, where a means absence. This is an old knowledge. This should be the old knowledge, absence. And vascular means blood vessels. So what does blood vessels include? It includes the artery and the veins. So the artery and the veins are missing in the cornea, even though the cornea is a living structure. So how do the cornea get its nourishment? Because have a look that just behind the cornea there is a chamber, there is a vacant space, and that chamber is known as, it is already leveled out here, it's known as the anterior chamber. That anterior chamber is filled with a liquid filled with liquid, and that liquid is known as the aqueous humor. This aqueous humor supplies nutrition to the cornea. So even though there is no blood vessels, but then still the cornea can survive despite the absence of blood vessels by taking the nutrition from the aqueous humor. Is this concept clear now? That how the cornea do survive?
So can you tell me about that aqueous humor once more?
Sure. Uh, if you look into the structure of this eyeball, see there is a part in front of the lens. So this is the part. Let me pick up a totally different color. Yeah, the color palette is now available. I'm picking up a totally different color so that I can now start leveling well. See, with this green color, I am showing you the stretch that is present in front of the lens. And with that same green color, I am showing you the another stretch that is present behind the lens, right? So the lens being present somewhere in the middle, it is dividing the entire space of the eyeball into an anterior part. So this is the anterior and into the posterior part. So this is the posterior part. Now this anterior part is limited at the extreme front by the cornea, right?
Yes, sir.
So in between the cornea at the extreme front and behind the lens, this particular space is actually a hollow space known as the anterior chamber, and this space contains the fluid, and that name of the fluid is aqueous humor. So this is the fluid, the aqueous humor that is present in this part in front of the lens, where I am presenting few dots. Understood now, where the aqueous humor is present?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And this aqueous humor carries nutrition, because the location where from this aqueous humor is formed is this ciliary body. Okay, try to observe this black color dot. This ciliary body is where from the aqueous humor is formed, and after formation, this ciliary body moves into the space behind the iris. Then it enters into this space, which is the space for the anterior chamber. So similar thing, of course, from the all different directions as well. So in this way, the entire anterior chamber always remains filled with this fluid called the aqueous humor. Got it?
Yes, sir.
And I don't know, you might have heard the name of a disease called glaucoma. Have you ever heard this term before, glaucoma?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Glucoma.
Glaucoma. This occurs because of excess aqueous humor in this anterior chamber. I mean, since this is a fluid, being a fluid, this would have a pressure also. Every fluid do exert a pressure, right? Blood do also exert a pressure. That is known as the blood pressure. Similarly, aqueous humor would also exert a pressure in the inside of the eyeball. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So that pressure is known as, the pressure present in the anterior chamber is known as IOP, intraocular pressure. Right. And this intraocular pressure causes glaucoma. I mean, when this pressure is raised beyond a certain minimum level, then we have the disease called glaucoma. See, this term glaucoma is again a kind of exceptional term, because I think in the offline classes, I gave you the idea that whenever you find any term that ends with this suffix called oma, it indicates malignancy, right? Or cancer. But glaucoma is not a cancer, though it is a malignant condition. Malignant in the sense that in the long run, it would create a permanent blindness in the patient. Permanent. What do I mean by permanent? that blindness cannot be recovered from anymore during the lifetime. That is what I mean by the word permanent. But the glaucoma is not a cancer. It is caused by raised IOP, that is intraocular pressures. Are you understanding anything?
Yes, sir.
So these are the structures present in the eye, I mean inside the eyeball. I have given you the prefix for almost all the structures. Let me give you the prefix for these other structures as well. As for example, eyelid. Okay, I will give you a term that would mean the inflammation of the eyelids. You tell me the prefix for the eyelid. This term uh, means inflammation of eyelids. So tell me the prefix by breaking this term down. Try to break the term down. Have a try at least. What's up? No idea at all. I mean, try by looking into this term.
Sir, sir, can it be blephar? Blephar
Yeah,
is,
you're
I
very
know that
close.
blephar will.
You're very close. That will be
Blephar.
blepharo. Prefix would be
Blepharo.
blepharo. Correct. Blepharo. And suffix, you know, that is itis. Now, how is this prefix formed? Prefix is formed by the word called blepharon. See, again in the formation of the term blepharitis, we have removed both the O and the N. And instead of that O and N, we have written the I of this suffix itis. So that is how the term blepharitis is formed. Eyelids, okay? And one last part, it's written here lacrimal. This lacrimal is refers to the tear. Okay. Now the tear, you know what is tear, right? Kanna osru. Okay. This tear is produced by a gland called the tear gland. Prefix for the tear gland would be dacryo. Dacricysto. So can you tell me the term for the inflammation of tear gland now? Inflammation of the tear gland. You can try it out.
So can you tell me the first word which is written?
Dacryo. D-A-C-R-Y-O. D-A-C-R-Y.
Keratitis.
Dacricystitis.
Dacricystitis.
Understood? So that is the inflammation of the tear gland. I mean, why am I giving you so much minute details? Because each of these parts of the eye, and not only of the eye is here just as an example. All the parts of your body do have its own medical prefixes. So accordingly, we can have many different terms with all these parts of the eye. Now, so far I have been using only one suffixes. So instead of this inflammation of the eyelids that is here written as blepharitis, We can also have a cancerous tumor on the eyelid. That is also quite possible. So in that case, the term would be, again, it is blepharo, then OOMA, blepharoma. I mean, you can make almost innumerable combinations with these prefixes and suffixes. And the majority, and a good majority of these combinations do have their own practical usage and significance. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
So how many people are currently in this meeting? I mean, many of them have left already. I don't know what exactly reason is. Only 6 people, including me, that is 5. There are even other people who is there. I found this people who are shown to be now connecting in the others from chat section. I don't know what happened to them. Why did they leave out? Temporarily, I will